Recently, the oil rig was added to Jailbreak, and I think it's a pretty awesome robbery. But how good is it compared to the many other robberies we already have? I'm going to compare every robbery in this video and rank them all from worst to best. Now keep in mind, the way I'm evaluating these robberies is based on a couple of factors. Number one, how fun are they to do? Are they repetitive to the point where it's just dull and not fun to do them anymore? Or do I always find them exciting? And second, is their payout worth all the effort I have to go through? Remember, this is subjective. You're totally free to disagree with me, just be respectful about it. Comment your favorite and least favorite robberies down below. Anyways, let's get started. Coming in last place for me is the passenger train. This, in my opinion, does everything worse than the cargo train. It's harder to get into this robbery. You have to either jump on top of it, or you could try jumping through the doors, though that takes a bit of precision. And the most reliable way to get on is by waiting for it to stop at the train station, which only works if the lever is pulled correctly and takes a little while to happen. While with the cargo train, you can easily get on with the blue cars. It gives less J-bucks, and there's a chance that you won't even be able to get the full amount of J-bucks with the robbery, because sometimes people take everything. However, with the cargo train, everyone can get a full payout. And finally, the passenger train has the additional inconvenience of having to go back to the volcano to turn in your money, while with the cargo train, it's much simpler and easier. You just step out of the robbery after you collect the money and you're all done. Ultimately, I don't think the passenger train is worth my time. It doesn't give good money. It's not particularly enjoyable. It's tedious to get onto, and there's an added inconvenience of having to drive to the volcano to turn in your money. I only rob it if there's absolutely nothing else open, so in my opinion, it is the worst jailbreak robbery. However, that doesn't mean I like the cargo train that much, because it comes in 15th place, right after the passenger train. I think it's marginally better, especially now that the lasers have largely been fixed, but they're still annoying and I don't really see the point of them. It's also kind of annoying to do because even just getting nudged a little bit by another player or a car that clips into the train will either kick you out of the train and prematurely give you the money, or knock you into the lasers, which will kill you. That's one advantage the passenger train has over this robbery, but I still think the cargo works better for the most part, since you don't have to go all the way to the volcano to turn in your money. However, the cargo train also doesn't give a great amount of money, and it also takes a little bit of time to rob, so I really don't rob it unless there's pretty much nothing else open. After that, we have the donut shop and the gas station. I'm ranking them together because I have the same feelings on both of them. They're easy enough ways to get cash. You just go in and hold E, and they give a good amount of money for the little effort you have to put in. Sometimes the robbery bonus roll might give you a little extra something. Also, you can get the donut or the energy drink, which can be a helpful tool for normal gameplay, but obviously they're not that interesting or exciting to do. You just walk in, hold E, and that's it. So I can't really rank them that high. After that, we have the bank truck. I really like the concept for this robbery, and I think it can be a lot of fun at times, but there are some big missteps that hold this robbery down a lot. For starters, I really don't think the cash it gives is worth the effort put in by both sides, cops and criminals. If you're a criminal, you have to shoot down the vehicle and deal with the multiple cops driving it. And often, by the time you get to the robbery, cops have already gathered a lot of money, and when you kill people that collect money from this robbery, then the money is lost forever. Therefore, there's an even smaller pool of money remaining in the vehicle, and if you're on the cop team, there's going to be multiple cops trying to get money from it, and you're going to have to deal with the criminals trying to show up and take some of the money as well. This is definitely a very entertaining and engaging robbery, and if it paid better, I'd probably rank it a lot higher on the list, but the cash payout really holds it back, and frankly, it's not available all that much. I think either improving the cash payout or making it client-sided so each person that goes in gets the same amount of money would do wonders for this robbery and would drastically improve it. Then we have the two banks. My favorite part about this robbery is the variety. There are several different vaults, and they all have a different amount of money, and they all have their own unique challenges. This makes it a varied experience, as you don't really know what you're gonna get. However, like the bank truck, I feel like the money isn't enough to justify the effort that goes into it. First off, you have to get a key card, which isn't the easiest task, but it is doable, especially with the addition of the oil rig. But you'll also have to deal with the multiple cops that will try to bust you when you're robbing this location, and while that that does make things fun. In my opinion, the money rewarded isn't high enough to justify the risk. I also think you get the money way too slow. I think the rate of collecting cash should scale to the amount of money each vault provides. I don't think you should be getting money in the presidential vault at the same rate as one of the different vaults. Therefore, due to the inconvenience, I usually tend to skip this robbery, probably the most out of any robbery, but I do enjoy and appreciate it as the very first jailbreak robbery, and I think the fact that it forces you into contact with other jailbreak cops is a good thing, though I do wish it gave more money. After that, we've got the airdrops. This is probably the most challenging robbery for me. I think it can be pretty fun, though I pretty much never do it by myself since I'm a big noob. You can also give a pretty good amount of money. If you can take money before other people get to it, then it would probably be a better payout for you. The NPCs do cause a lot of problems though, especially for many people who are on lower end devices. They're the reason I chose to buy a new computer, because I realized that my trusty MacBook wouldn't be enough for jailbreak anymore. I think this robbery should be nerfed a little bit to be easier for lower level players or people who go up to it by themselves, because a lot of times you do need people helping you to rob this. But I like it. I think it's pretty fun, and I really like how it ties into the mansion robbery, which we're going to talk about later. After that, we've got the cargo plane. I didn't like this robbery very much, but over the years I've really warmed up to it. Right off the bat, I really appreciate how it gives the same amount of money for both duffel bag and non-duffel bag owners. 4K is a lot for people who don't own the duffel bag, and it's just a reliable and easy way for people to get some money. It also does feel kind of cool to actually go up to it, get inside, then wait for the right moment and open the door and skydive out. Though it can be a little dull waiting for it to approach the airport, then waiting inside for it to take off, then waiting even more for the E-circles to show up. That makes it a little bit dull, but I think the money makes up for it. Also, I like that it can give people a keycard. That's a nice touch. Overall, I think it's a very reliable source of income for jailbreak people. On a different note, we have the tomb. Unlike the plane, I used to be a huge fan of this robbery. It was probably my favorite robbery in the game, but over the years it's went lower and lower on my list. Frankly, I just think it is far too repetitive. I think this robbery needs a bit more variety. It's just the same set of obstacles every time. I do think it is very well made. I love the design of the tomb overall, and of course it gives an excellent amount of money for both duffel and non-duffel bag owners. However, I do wish it was a bit more interesting. I hope it gets a revamp sometime soon. Maybe some randomized obstacles would make it a bit more fun, but I do like it, and I appreciate how different it is compared to other jailbreak robberies. It's not a museum or a casino or a real life structure that we would expect to find. It's more adventure or mystical themed, which is something I think is pretty cool. By the way, this is a theory I just came up with. What if the gems we steal from the tomb and presumably give to the collector are used to restock the jewelry store after criminals rob it and steal jewels from it? That would explain how they're able to refill the J store stocks so quickly. Speaking of which, the next robbery on the list is the jewelry store. This is another robbery that I really enjoy robbing. I think it looks pretty nice, and I like that the obstacles are randomized. I'd love a couple new J-Store floors because we haven't got any in a while, but I still think the ones we have work really well. It gives a good enough amount of money, though I do think it is a little on the lower side for the amount of time you have to put into this one, but I like it a lot and still enjoy robbing it. Then we have the museum. I have a lot of nostalgia for this robbery since I started playing very shortly before the devs added it. I like the variety of objects you can collect that are Easter eggs to other things in Jailbreak, and it gives a really good amount of money. However, like the tomb, I do feel like this robbery has become a bit too generic and repetitive. The revamp it got in January of 2022 was the perfect opportunity to add some new obstacles, or maybe make the puzzles you need to do a bit more randomized. However, it stayed largely the same for almost 6 years. Holy moly, am I getting old. So that's the biggest thing that holds it back in my opinion. However, it's definitely a certified jailbreak classic, a very reliable source of money, and one I still enjoy robbing, so I don't think it should be placed too low. Kicking off the top 5, we've got the power plant. I really like the click and drag puzzles this robbery has. They're randomized, and I like that it's not the same thing every time. And every now and then, I get one that makes me scratch my head a little bit. Now, while the obstacles themselves are pretty repetitive, it's what happens after you get outside the robbery that makes this robbery so good in my opinion. The longer it takes for you to turn in the money, the less money you end up getting. And in my opinion, that is a really fun mechanic that makes the drive back to the volcano base a lot of fun. It can lead to a lot of experimentation using different vehicles, seeing what gets you the most money. And of course, when you do end up turning in that money, it's usually a pretty good amount. This is another robbery that gives the same for both duffel and non-duffel bag owners, so that's definitely a bonus in my book. Then we have the latest jailbreak robbery, the oil rig. Now, getting the negatives out of the way, I think the biggest issue with this robbery is the payout. I don't think it's worth the amount of time people have to spend in this robbery. For less time, duffel bag players can just rob the casino or the cargo ship or the mansion, which all give the same or more cash. For non-duffel bag owners, it's even worse. Honestly, I think this is another robbery where both duffel and non-duffel owners should have gotten the same amount of money, but at the very least, I do think the amount of money players earn needs to be increased just a little bit. Maybe 10k for duffel bag and 5k for non-duffel bag owners would be good. Otherwise though, I was a huge fan of this robbery. I love all the different stages it has to it, from taking out the NPCs to solving the power plant puzzle to making an escape either with a helicopter or a boat. This robbery has a lot of moving parts and in many ways feels like the culmination of every jailbreak robbery since it incorporates elements from each one. This robbery has been an absolute blast for me. In a year's time, if the cash payout isn't improved, this robbery will probably be a bit lower, but I find it to be very enjoyable and a great addition to the game. Kicking off the top 3, we have the mansion. Over a year later, this is a robbery I still really enjoy doing. Even though the boss's attacks aren't too impressive and are rather one note, I still find it fun to fight him. I like that the boss isn't that difficult to defeat, but he's not super easy as well. I know it's possible to beat him solo, but for me, I always need a couple people helping me. And even then, he can get the better of us sometimes. I also really like how the boss ties into the airdrops through the use of invitations. Honestly, I want more robberies to be interconnected like this. Finally, this robbery just has some great rewards. Besides the excellent payout of 16k, 19k if you have the VIP, he also rewards various cosmetics and the escape bot, which is a really good vehicle. Overall, even though the CEO isn't the greatest boss fight in the world, I still think he works really well, and the mansion robbery is an excellent robbery in Jailbreak. For the penultimate Jailbreak robbery, we have the casino. This one feels the most like a heist straight out of Ocean's 11 or something like that. The steps it has are all pretty fun, and there's enough variety to still keep me engaged, even though it's still pretty straightforward. If I had to critique it, I think that disabling the security should be a bit more substantial. Maybe it could have its own puzzle like the power plant puzzle, and I think there needs to be another escape because the elevator and ground floor escapes can be camped a lot. Otherwise though, I still love this robbery. I love the unique safe opening feature it has, and of course it pays really well. So yeah, I think the casino is an amazing jailbreak robbery, but there's still one robbery that I think is better, and that robbery is the cargo ship. Now, in previous rankings, I ranked it a bit lower, and one reason was due to the lack of hyperchromes. Well, to be honest, I don't really care about hyperchromes. I barely get them anyway. I just value the money and the experience more, and this robbery is the best of both worlds in my opinion. I think requiring a helicopter to rob it was a genius idea, and it's really fun to outmaneuver the missiles and collect the crates. There's a lot of urgency to this robbery as well, and I always try to make it a priority whenever it shows up. You can use different vehicles, all with their pros and cons. For example, the army heli is faster, but it's a bigger target, while the little bird and escape bot are slower, but they are smaller and aren't as huge targets for the missiles. And of course, we gotta talk about the money. If you have VIP, that's an easy 16k. I mean, what is there to complain about here? Even if you don't have the VIP or the duffel bag, you're still gonna get at least 10k for like what, a minute's worth of work? This is probably the most efficient jailbreak robbery. Honestly, I wouldn't be mad if it got a nerf because it just gives so much that it makes other robberies look weaker in comparison. Even when it was giving 8k in total a couple years ago, I still thought it was an excellent robbery, so I think it would still work well. Overall, this robbery is always a joy to do, and it gives a lot of money to make it worth it, so it is my favorite jailbreak robbery of all time. And that concludes my latest refreshed ranking of every jailbreak robbery. What do you think? Which robbery is your favorite? Which one is your least favorite? If you want to see more jailbreak rankings like this in the future, please make sure to like and subscribe. Also, feel free to drop some suggestions for future rankings down below. Make sure to use code YouTubeNoobFreak at any jailbreak ATM to get the Noob Freak tires in-game. Join my Roblox group and Discord linked below in the description. And it's almost Christmas, so have a safe and happy holiday. Thank you for watching.